Welcome to the Co-Host Bros podcast, where we break down everything short-term rentals, entrepreneurship, and building a profitable hospitality business. Whether you're a host, investor, or property manager, we share real strategies, real insights, and real experiences to help you scale smarter and grow faster. Let's dive in.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Matt Cotton. I'm here with Austin Spitzenberger, and today we have another episode of the Co-Host Bros, and we brought back Patryk Swietek. It is his 21st birthday today. Probably not his
I had to
21st.
think about that one. I'm like, is he right?
Yeah. See, so welcome, Patryk, again.
Hey, no, thanks for having me. I feel like one of the co-host bros at this point.
Sometimes I'm going to fill in for Austin sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like you're the first repeat guest we've had, so I guess maybe that makes you an honorary co-host, bro. I don't know.
Oh, dude, that feels so great. Well, thanks for having me. I feel so honored.
I think after the third time, we got to give him a hat or something.
Yeah. Do you get like a repeat customer kind of thing? That'd be cool.
I love it, man.
Hey.
Well, awesome, dude. It was good seeing you at VRMA. If you guys weren't there, it also, Patryk, we talked about it on the last podcast. Is it VRMA or is it Verma or is it however you choose?
I think however you choose to say it, that's the way you go for it. I've heard Verma, I've heard VRMA. I think VRMA is like more common from what I've seen, but I might be wrong. So
how was the conference for you, man? Did you enjoy it? I mean, we were talking before this. I mean, I enjoyed you and Rachel's discussion up there. That was one of the few that I joined. But how was it for you, man?
Dude, it was great, man. Obviously being able to share the freaking panel with a powerhouse like Annie, Sloan, and Rachel is freaking sick. But apart from that, we had a lot of discussions ourselves. Like I learned a lot through even what Rachel was saying and Annie was saying. I was like, damn, I could probably implement this stuff. Rachel has, one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most impressive management companies out there. To have a 4.94 average rating across 200 luxury properties is very impressive. That's a hard feat to do. And so, we strive to hit that same thing. And so, picking her brain has been incredible. And we can talk about it, but experiences is her game.
She's super fun to talk to too.
Yeah.
She'll tell you everything. She was
great. 100%. She is unfiltered to say the least. But all good things. One thing that I've really noticed through Verma, and this is just a little bit on the side, and is really guys like Verma. The issue with Verma is they had a lot of, well, not the issue of, but the problems with Verma a lot of times is, in the past they've had some issues that they had to work through, and I feel like this conference versus the last conference, they've made a lot of progress, and a lot of people have had really positive sentiment about the progress that they've made. And all, they've gotten new leadership. They've gotten like really good people like Rachel on the board, JJ on the board. There's a few other people I'm probably missing, but they've done a really good job of trying to track the what we like to call the co-host. Like for the people that are watching, this is literally called the Co-Host Bros show, right? Or podcast. So that the co-host, right? That's who we know, right? We're the newcomers that came in and decided, hey, let's co-host for some properties and start building a business that way. These professional managers, it's a different, like there's a division, right? The STR Wealth Conference, the Roll Build Conference, HostCon, the Tony Robinson and Sarah Robinson Conference, the, my conference, STR Nation. That's a different ballgame. These are the co-hosts, the smaller hosts, the influencers per se. I'm doing quotations because it's like, that's what they call us. And then there was like the professional guys, the guys that have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years in these mature markets. And, there's been a division. And I feel like more and more, and even when I saw you there, Austin, this last year was awesome. I also told some of my the people in my community, like Cameron, I was like, Cameron, you got to go to this freaking conference, man. Like, it's going to blow your mind. The first time I went, I was like, holy crap, there's levels to this game. Like, you start capping out when you start going to these like smaller events or like buyers with like smaller managers, co-hosts. And then you get into a big room like that and you start realizing these 500,000 unit people, like 150 units is small. You're small fish. And so that you can learn a lot from somebody that has been in the game that long. And there's a lot of things that we can teach those people as well. And I think those people, the professional hosts as well, I think it's a really, it's a really collaborative thing. And so I do think that there's a huge opportunity, especially with all these conferences not going on anymore, to merge the two. And I've talked to the VRMA executive director about this as well. I was like, there's a lot of opportunity to merge the two to really reap the benefits of the collective. But anyways, that's a whole nother thing. But Austin, what was your experience? Like, this is your first time?
Yeah, I think it was really good. I think I have positive things to say about both kind of
Mm-hmm.
sections of the industry. I think for the first like at we're under roughly 65 properties under management. So
Yeah.
like for the first 3 years, it made sense to go to just short-term rental wealth conference
Right.
as we're growing. There's more of,
100%.
the 1 to 50 unit operators, more smaller boutique,
Yep.
kind of setups. And then after going to VRMA, it was different because now I was essentially the smallest fish in a
Yeah.
pond of much bigger fish. So like to your point, I think there's key things that you can take away from both industries, and they're both kind of quite a bit different.
Yeah.
One thing
Agreed.
I noticed, about a lot of the operators there at Verma was like a lot of them are brokers as well. So part of their business is like a brokerage, and part of their business is management,
Yeah.
and the management kind of pours into the brokerage. But what I think is like kind of the different from the way we're structured is we aren't brokers or agents. So we can partner with those kind of people and kind of pass business back and forth to them. So we
Right.
play that to our advantage. And I've thought about getting my broker's license and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I just don't know if it's advantageous. And a lot of them, some of the problems, not all of them, but a few of the operators that hundreds of units, when I was talking to, some of the problems they had was like kind of they felt that they had to say yes to a lot of things in their management business because they maybe sold that client, and
Mm.
they're like, okay, well, later on down the road, if they buy another property or they want to sell their house, well, I'll get paid then. But maybe the house is grossing like 20K a year, and it's really a bottleneck in their management business. So I see kind of where they're torn. But it was like some of those people that were at hundreds of units also kind of had a brokerage, which I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. I just feel like the way we've been set up, there's power in saying no, where we could just focus on properties that kind of meet our buy box and meet our revenue income. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I do think that there are some that don't have partnerships like that with. I think there are a segment for sure, but there's also smaller co-hosts that I've seen that are brokers during COVID that decided, wait, shoot, there's no management company that can handle this workload, or there's no good management companies. I'm just going to start managing myself. Right? Like Tyler Kuhn's an example. He just fell into a management company that he did not want because he was just doing so many deals and people needed management. He decided to do it. So, I do see both sides. And by the way, those people tend to be some of the best people to buy management companies from, because they're usually focused on two things. And they're like, well, damn, I don't want to do this. I want to focus on my brokers because that's where I make my money. I don't want to do this management thing or half asset. And so I'm just willing to sell it and have somebody else do it. So I've seen that segment of people sell their management companies a lot more frequently. They usually
Yeah.
have like 30.
Yeah, but I think overall, general consensus, like I'm already looking forward to going back next year. I thought it was great. Definitely going to make an effort to do that. But while we're on the topic of kind of like mergers and acquisitions, you've done a few of those in your day. So like, how many management companies up until this point have you acquired?
So I've acquired 4 right now. I'm on my 4th, which is the merger officially starts November 1st. But 4 companies, and we started in March of 2023. So it's been pretty quick.
So what was that like for you? Let's start at the beginning. How do you reach out to these? Number one, how do you find a management company that would fit what you're looking for, and what do you do to go about like contacting them?
Yeah, I think before I answer that question, I just want to phrase a little bit about the way that it happened for me. And for me, I fell into it. I started becoming known for buying management companies. People approached me. I've gotten leads that way, and I've been able to take on management companies like that and focus on one area. I focus on just Joshua Tree. So for me, I sit down and grab dinner with people, and that's usually how I get my leads. But I've also taught a lot of people on how to buy management companies. I've consulted and went through the buying process of probably around a dozen property management companies. Meaning I've seen how deals get structured in different ways. I've also, talked to a lot of people in the space that do it. So I can give you guys an idea of what to do and what works and what doesn't based on what I've seen from my community members and my own experience as well. Definitely on the going through the acquisition. But in terms of finding people, the way that I've seen people be very successful in finding people to buy their management companies is, right now more than ever, the rooms, I don't know if you've been to any of the rooms that are mergers and acquisitions related, they're full. There were probably, I don't know exactly, but there was a lot more private equity firms on the floor at Verma because I bumped into a bunch of them. And I know people are actively acquiring. I know people are getting brought on to their companies to actively acquire other management companies. So I know there's a lot of M&A activity happening in this space right now, and there's a lot of consolidation. But it makes sense, right? Because once again, like this is stats, a little older stat, but it outlines what I'm trying to say is Vacasa was the largest player by far, 40,000 units under management. Out of all the units out there, they've managed only 2.6% of the market. That's the biggest manager. So what does that mean? Our industry is very segmented. If you go into an industry like the hotel industry, it's a little more mature. You start seeing where the segmentation really doesn't play as much of a role. Why? Because they have the Hilton brand, they have the Hyatt brand. We can name on our hands. There's obviously a lot of boutique operators too, but there's a lot of consolidation of the kinds of branding guidelines of these elite brands, and beyond that, right? So there's a lot of economies of scale. We understand that, but here's the thing: our industry is kind of getting to that point where it's like, okay, there's a lot of stuff happening, and then I'm talking about it. I'm on this freaking podcast, and then people hear about it, and all of a sudden I'm like, people are reaching out to me and saying, "Oh, dude, your student like reached out to me about buying my management company." Like now, like people are aware of it, so it's a little different. But from what I've seen, is $1 million plus is usually like private equity. When I say $1 million plus, EBITDA meaning earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. It's a fancy way of saying net, right? Anything over $1 million, you start getting into the PE grounds. That's when they start really wanting to like work with you. So anything under $1 million is kind of like 500,000 to $1 million. You can probably get like a small family office. You can start getting other, maybe somebody will pick you up. Maybe they'll do something called a fill-in or a tuck-in. Potentially, a tuck-in is basically buying your contracts to your assets, your contracts to like roll into a bigger management company, but they're not going to keep your systems and all that. So yeah, there's a little bit of that, but where I like the sweet spot, actually this is a secret, but I'm just going to let everyone know. My sweet spot is 30. I love like the 25 to 30 range. And it's specific to me. Everyone is different. People want different amounts, right? Like you can go after something that's over 500,000 EBITDA. For me, I like the 25 to 30 because they have to make a key decision at that point. And the pain points are a lot stronger there because they have to decide, do I double down and do I go into the next era of where I need to go, right? Do I need to double down and get to 60 to 100? Or do I say, and that means when you double down means you hire employees. And when you hire employees, then you have costs, you have fixed costs. When you have fixed costs, you have to let the engine run and you have to grow. There's no other option. So you're kind of, you made that decision, right? And so that sometimes people are not willing to make that decision. They're doing all the work themselves at the time. Maybe they'll have a couple VAs, that kind of thing. And in that situation, they're doing a lot of the grunt work. And so they have to make that decision. And do I continue doing the grunt work and I have this job, or do I transition and do I elevate myself? But then I'm building a business, and then that's a whole nother undertaking, and I take on costs and I have to build it. So that's what I like. That's personally where I like to be. There are people that, their buybacks is, look, I don't care for those contracts because I want to build something bigger. I want to have like a $500,000 EBITDA business and not a 200,000 EBITDA business, right? And so they want something that has all the systems in place, has all the operations in place. It's a lot easier, and then coming in and just improving pricing. But it's not too big where like a PE firm is looking at it. So you have a little bit less competition. So, there's different sweet spots for different people, and there's no like right or wrong answer. But once you get into the 1 million range, just know you're going up against PE firms, and you're going up against, everyone wants a bite of that. And they're going to get a lot of activity from people reaching out to them. The moment that we hit 1 million, we got a lot of activity of people reaching out and wanting to chat with us. So it gets to that point. So and I see it across the board, even like 500,000 to 1 million. Like you're gonna get some people reaching out, emails, whatever. So you're competing against other people, but usually they're using VAs and that kind of thing. So for me, I really just want to personalize that experience as much as possible. I always try to get like dinner with them or lunch with them. I always try to get in person with them, especially if they're somewhat interested, because the human connection is the biggest thing. It's in the beginning, people are like, Patryk, I'm ready to freaking jump in. I'm ready to do this thing. I'm like, dude, like focus on, they're like, are the numbers going to work? I'm like, before you even get into that, focus on the trust element, the trust, the credibility, the aspect of because this person, keep in mind from their perspective, they've built this thing, they've put their heart and soul into it, and they want somebody to take it and carry the torch, right? If it's a broker, that's even more so of the case, right? If it's a broker and they have their clients, those are the clients that they service. Those are the people that they've built relationships with throughout the buying process of getting the short-term rental. If somebody comes in and fucks it up, they're going to feel like the pressure of that downfall. So they want to know that this person credible, right? Can they add value here and make it a benefit for my clients? Or do they match the values that I want to look for? Can they carry the torch and the brand and the legacy that I created into whatever they're building? And so all those questions need to be answered. And that's why sitting down with them, like I like sharing a nice, talk to them on the phone first, but like eventually I like getting dinner with them. I love, let's go to one of my properties. Let's sit down and chat a little bit about what your goals are, right? The fourth acquisition is a perfect example of this. My third acquisition, my third acquisition is the co-host company. I sat down with the guy. I owned Stays You Like at the time. I did a second acquisition with this little management company. And I sat down with the guy and I was like, dude, I want to meet my competitors in my market. You're big time. You're doing big things. I'd love to learn from you. And by the end of the call, or not the call, the meeting of us getting lunch together, which by the way, took 7 follow-ups. 7 follow-ups. And I was in his market and I was actively like trying to build a relationship with other managers in my market. And the dude finally, after the 7th time, his wife actually tells him, dude, this young guy's reaching out to you. Like, just grab lunch with him. Like, dude, you have time. Like, just like urged him, like, hey, just do it. You never know. And that was the urge that got him to sit down. He's like, okay. He's like, look, I only got like 30 minutes. That conversation was 2 hours. And so we sat down, we had a great conversation. We talked about the market. We talked about industry. We talked about his goals and dreams. And eventually I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, you're not looking to grow. You love where you're at with your 25 to 30 or 30, 35. He had 35 at the time. And he's like, you know what, but I'm not looking to grow. I'm making a good amount of money. And, I'm fine. I'm good at what I do. And I'm happy with the clients I have. And I said, so you're not growing, you're not scaling, you're just kind of coasting. Would you ever be open to selling? And he said, I've gotten offers from Vacasa. I've gotten offers from all these big management companies. He says he's gotten offers all the time for 7X, like during COVID. And he said, you know what, for me, what's more important is somebody that can carry the torch of the legacy I built. And the timing couldn't be any better. I do think there might be a possibility. And if there's anybody I'd sell it to, it'd be you guys. That is because the trust was there. And to be honest, we aligned very well. Like we wanted the same things. And let me carry that on. And that one was just a full acquisition, full buyout. But carry on to the fourth acquisition that we're doing, that we currently are finalizing, and it's all signed and ready to go. It's just, November 1st is going to be like the big day. We're recording October 24th. So this acquisition is, these guys came to us and said, hey, we've seen you guys buying other companies. We've been entertaining offers from other people, and we've been in this search. Same kind of deal, 25 units. And they're like, can we chat? And we get on the call. We had a great call. We had a great chat. Then we decide, hey, once again, let's come to one of my houses. Let's sit down, let's chit chat a little bit, and let's go through this. And at first in our minds, we're like, dude, we're going to buy these guys. They're going to get out. We'll be good. They're going to get out. They're going to do their own thing. We'll be good. Like this, that's the goal. And as we started learning a little bit more about their situation, we realized one of the partners was ready to kind of let it go. They were going to make the decision, either double down or not, that whole thing. And they were like, hey, we want to explore this option. We kicked it off big time, big time, very aligned, great people, complementary skill sets. And we realized, holy crap, there's an opportunity here to partner and actually bring this person in as our CEO under the co-host company. This guy knows his shit when it comes to operations. He worked for the number one management company in our market, and he knows what he's doing. Wait, we can make a really interesting deal out of this. And so he comes in, and he's going to be our CEO starting November 1st. I'm so excited. But we talked about everything. That's like, you're getting into bed with somebody at that point. So at that point, it's like, wait, hold on. This whole deal, if we didn't sit down and we just went through the numbers and all that crap, none of this would have come about. Maybe, but like we went into the relationship aspect of understanding what these people want individually and where their goals are. And because of that, we're going to have a powerhouse team where the other guy is going to be our strategic consultant. He's worked with the Bill Gates Foundation doing PR, and he's very polished, very professional, really good at connecting with anybody. That I've never seen somebody so good at making connections with anybody, like snap of a finger. And so I realized real quick that this would be a great team. And then the operator, such a great operator. Like without a doubt, I feel confident. It has the highest reviews in the whole desert, 4.99 average. And I was like, dude, this guy knows his shit. That came from the human element. Anyways, I know I went on a tangent, but hopefully that answers y'all's question of the idea of connecting to people first, and then from there keep those connections, and that's where the opportunities come about.
Yeah, so make it very personable, try and like meet in person, figure out what their goals are, try and help them solve any problems they're facing, and then just kind of present them with the opportunity of like, hey, I want to just keep the relationship and keep the door open. If you're ever interested,
Yeah.
that might be something we would be interested in. But I think that's a great mindset to have, because there's some people I've tried to do that with, and not with any goal in mind, exactly the route you're going. And some people, they don't have the mindset of collaboration. They more look at like, well, Patryk's my competition. There's no way, like, screw him. I'm not going to talk to him. So I'm sure you probably maybe have experienced. Have you ever come across people where they're like, absolutely not, like, I don't want to talk to you?
Yeah,
Very rare,
sometimes
seldom.
I feel like this industry is very different, right?
Yeah.
When I went to a conference, it was a personal branding conference, social media or whatever. I I did what I do best, right? I would infiltrate groups and just like talk to anybody. I would just shake their hand and be like, "Hey, what's up? Like, what are you doing? What are you up to?" Granted, there were really great people there, but it was very cliquey. It was like, oh no, this is our group, this is our company. Like, why is this random person coming here? Like that, I felt that. Our industry is very different. People are very open, but think about it. We are in the industry of hospitality. We are naturally great with people, right? Like it's kind of you kind of need that. You kind of have to be good with people to be in this space. Um, that's why when you see people that are in this space that are like horrible people, they never last. Or even the self-managers, I see some self-managers, I'm like, these people have a low rating. It's because and then I look at the way they respond to guests reviews. I'm like, they're like, no, this person's an asshole. And I'm like, dude, like anyways, you guys get the point. But
That's
Yeah.
funny.
So
Yeah.
I was looking at a listing the other day like that. So sorry.
Yeah, right.
Every time they responded to the negative review, it was like, you must have stayed at the wrong house. You didn't stay with us. And I'm like, how the fuck did that happen on Verbo? I don't understand what you're talking about.
I think the funniest one was there's this one guy. I have to say it was an Asian man host. And I think because his English wasn't like fully there, but it was so funny because the guest was like, "Oh, the house was dirty, yada yada, like blah blah," and then the guy literally puts in the reply, "He shit on bed." And I'm like, oh my God, that's hilarious. He shit on bed. Very bad guest. Anyways, guys, I agree. Anyways, we digress.
Sorry, Austin.
No, that's awesome. So do you kind of notice, like, maybe from the 4 transactions you've done, like maybe a commonality in that sweet spot that you're seeing is like 25 to 30 listings, is maybe they are at a point where they've got to actually start treating it as a real business if they want to get to the next level and if they want to scale, versus like them just being able to DIY everything forever? Because I feel like at 25, 30 listings, I mean, that's a pretty uncomfortable amount to start to be doing everything yourself as is, even with like a VA or something like that. So do you think it's like they've reached a point where they're not willing to, not really motivated enough to build out a business kind of like you've built out?
Yeah. Well, at that point, there's stuff you can delegate to VAs. Don't get me wrong. But at some point, you have to build a team because there's boots on the ground stuff you got to do. The boots on the ground stuff you have to delegate is the hard part. That's the hardest part. That's where you need to pay people salary for, But yeah, I mean, look, but there are businesses that are at $500,000 EBITDA that are in like great, but the owners are also like working a lot in the business and they have staff that they hired and they're maybe not good, or maybe they have great staff, but then the owners are still talking to them. Like they haven't really figured it out really. And so like things are okay, but really, they're hurting every day and they're thinking about, yes, I can continue making this money, or I'm making $300,000 a year. It's great. But it's a job, and and it could be making 400 or 500,000 because the photos suck and the pricing is horrible because the owners is maybe has some systems and have some people in place, but really not built all the way out. And there's different levels, and I had dinner with Steve Schwab the other day, I think like for STR Wealth Conference, and I'll never forget a lot of the things that he mentioned, honestly. But one of the things that he mentioned was there's different break points. there's different points where it gets different. Like your business gets restructured. 25 is like a common one, right? So the 25, 30 for us, like we all understand it because it's like pretty close to home. The next one is kind of where you're at, actually, Austin, is like the 60 unit count. That's like an optimal amount, right? Like you have certain amount, like you have a pretty stable business. You have maybe an employee or two, you have, staff, whatever. And then the next route, and this is rough, right? Next is like 100 to 120. 120 is like you're in a solid place. You have a lot more staff intact, but you're not quite there where you can like hire like, a finance CFO or a CMO per se, but you have probably some strong leadership. That's kind of where we're at. And then now we're breaking past that, right? We're hiring to break past that. So we're going to hit the next wave, which could be, it's like, once you get to like, I forgot what the next number is, but there's a sweet spot at around 200 units as well. So like, you kind of make those decisions to push. And granted, this is not a say all, do all. Like if you have, to be honest, I've heard of people that have in Palm Springs area or Indio area, Coachella Valley, that have, this is insane, by the way, 35 units, EBITDA of $3.5 million.
Oh yeah, over there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
$3.5 million on 35 units. Talk about being selective. I was like doing the math. I'm like, oh, so each unit has to make at least 400,000. Got it. Okay. So like, but that's the game, right? Like, everyone's got a different thing, but, it doesn't always matter for unit counts, more so kind of like a symbolic, like, okay, understand this is the averages, this is what it looks like. But
yeah. So let's say I'm at that point. I've got 25 to 30 listings. I realize this, I don't want to go to the next level. This isn't for me. I call you. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about, and I'm interested in selling, kind of like you did with the other guy. So if you're going to run me through this, let's just say, what is your ideal structure? Like if you were looking to acquire me, how would you potentially structure the deal to where it would be, probably a win-win, but like I guess every scenario is different. But like, what would you like to see to where it's like is it seller finance? Is it no money down? What's a good way for somebody that's looking to get started into acquiring somebody to do this? If that kind of makes sense, it's kind of a jumbo question.
Yo, what's going on, party people? Check it out. I created a school group called Co-Host Bros Academy, 100% free. Just for you. I want to help you guys get your first deal. I want to help you guys grow your business. I want to do it together. I want to create a community. I got free templates. I'm going to be adding stuff all the time. It's 100% free right now for you. So I would suggest you join as soon as possible. I hope to see you there.
Yeah, I mean, every deal's different, man. Every person's different. Everybody wants different things. Deals are the funnest part for me, to be honest, because there's multiple criteria that are working here. So the first thing you got to understand, there's a few things you got to figure out, but one of the first things is like, okay, is the owner wanting to stay on? Are they not? How long? Okay, cool. What does the owner want for the future? Are they, if they're involved? If they're not, then, does what you're doing with these clients align with their values, right? What those agreements look like? Are the agreements assignable? Are they not? Are they month to month? Are they year long? Are they 2 year long? Who owns the IP? Who doesn't? What's, are these is a percentage of these clients their properties, or maybe not? Are those properties staying with us? Are they not? So there's a lot of things at play. And so in the beginning, it's all about data. It's all about gathering as much information as physically possible. That's why the in-person stuff's really good for like the cultural due diligence, kind of culturally due diligence, figure out like if this person's a right fit. Because keep in mind, you're never going to meet those clients before you close. Very rarely. I don't hear that often. So you got to understand that the person that you're working with, the best way to know how much of a pain in the ass those clients are going to be, and trust me, I know because I've bought my first company that I bought. I saw the kinds of clients they had, are a reflection of what that person is like and what they're open to taking. So if there's let's just say this, a asshole will be okay with asshole clients. And they won't see it as a thing. And a person that has good values is going to attract other people with good values, right? And maybe a good value person might attract bad people, potentially. There's always that case. And they might just accept it because they're desperate. But they're going to let you know, like, when somebody's a problem. But only time that somebody would be a problem is somebody that they deem doesn't align with who they are, right? So that's why understanding who that person is and the founder is important, because the staff is going to be a reflection of how that person is. So, like, for example, when we bought the co-host company, the staff was incredible. We went in and they were a reflection of the owners. They were good people with great values, and they stayed on for a reason, right? And so the culture of that company was great. And so that's what I'm looking for. And so, like, now I'm going into this thing blind because I have these 2 new employees that we're hiring from this new merger, but I know the 2 owners, and I know they're really great people. And I know that those 2 people that are coming in, their word means a lot, because I understand. I've met them. I've talked to them. We've chatted about situational, like how we would approach different situations and how we would, like, how we look at things. And you're getting in bed with somebody. It's like, you better fucking align with them. And so we did all that, and we know those 2 people are going to be okay. So that's important. Now, structuring the deal. Let's go back to that. Cool. So you're talking to them, you're doing the due diligence, you're gathering the data, and then from there you can structure. So the ways you can structure are seller financing is definitely an effective way. So that's a very common way of doing it. So yes, if they are in big pain and or they trust you a lot and they see the vision of what you're building or whatever, you're probably going to have a better chance of getting less money down because you are able to articulate that, especially when you don't have the capital. It helps to be on the same page as them. So you see what I'm saying? Like that initial conversation is important, because now this stuff matters. This stuff really comes into play. And like, I've had times where people have gone down on price to help us be able to acquire it all cash, for example, and gather the loans for it. So we've done stuff like that. We've had people, we've seller finance as well. And I've structured deals for other people as well, where, you seller finance and, and protect both sides, right? If, do a seller holdback or something like that for one side or another, make sure that, like you have maybe a little bit of down or whatever. I've structured clauses where, like, there's conversion clauses. Like, it just really depends. It's so hard to say, like, if the contracts aren't assignable, like, shit, I have to either buy this fucking company outright and then take on the liabilities and the risks of that company, which is fine, but like, you're gonna have to do bigger due diligence, because now if you're taking on the risks of that if you're signing on that dotted line, by the way, guys, the moment that that you get into the company, if they have like something happens before your time, lawsuit related, you're the entity still getting sued, right? And then if you're part of the new entity, you're getting sued and you're financially liable for that. So the liability aspect is very important. And so there's language you can talk in agreements for sure. But to be honest, even then, like, they can still say, well, this is the entity as a whole, and this counts as you, this counts as, like, you're still going to get in trouble in some way, shape, or form. There's liability involved, and you should always look through that and, like, understand what risks there are with the company you're buying if you are going to buy the company.
Yeah, and probably have a good attorney that specializes in mergers and acquisition, right? That can guide you through the process, because I'm sure you didn't do all this by yourself, right? And figure it out all alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I have recommendations for that if people need somebody. I have really good people that have worked on mergers and acquisitions specifically in this space. Same with like building like contracts in this space for M&A. So all that kind of stuff.
You had a broker on your podcast. You guys were talking about it who specialized in that. So maybe you could hook us up on that. I'm sure Austin would love it.
They're great too. Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to make the introduction. They're great. Yeah.
Have them on. All right, Austin. Yeah, I think it would be beneficial. Sorry to interrupt you, Austin. I was trying to help you ask more questions. I'm just kidding.
No, it's good. It's good. I got plenty for Patryk. He's got a lot of knowledge. My question, I guess, is like, so let's say we go back to that example, 25, 30 listings. Patryk, what does it look like? Because I've seen some of the properties that you post on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and they're super awesome properties. And I heard you talk about at VRMA, how to create an experience and doing all this great stuff. What happens when you look through the portfolio and there's some bad eggs in there? There's some properties that don't align with your standard. Are you taking those properties anyways and kind of having how do you gauge the portfolio and realize if it's like a perfect fit? Because if you're looking at these people to buy their company, there's no way you can look through all 25 listings and be like, oh, if this person wanted to work with me, I would take them, all 25 of them, right? So there's got to be some standards maybe that like, what happens if the portfolio is like, hey, like 10 of these don't align, but these 15 would be sweet. How do you handle something like that?
Yeah, well, most times it's all or nothing. You get what you get. You gotta go at it. You can make a deal happen where you say, okay, well, there are ways you can say, well, I'm not paying for this, and this, but I'll pay for this, and this. You can it's all negotiations at that point, right? And so, we've been in situations like that too, where some of the inventory is bad, but the great inventory usually outweighs that. And I'm happy to, especially if they have a brand and I'm looking to buy it for the brand. Sometimes there's value to more than just the properties in some of these cases. Like the Co-Host brand was way more valuable to us. To this day, it's super valuable. But that's not reflected in the numbers, and that's not reflected in the properties that they had. They definitely had some properties that were on the, I guess, lower end, and they didn't do as well. But that's fine, because the collective it was all or nothing for him. There are times where I can say like, hey, listen, I'll pay for all. Let's say there's 10 I wouldn't take. I negotiate, hey, these 4 I whatever I can't do. But once again, there's a lot of politics involved that you don't know about, right? Like maybe it's like, oh, that person, yeah, you don't want to get rid of that home because he's the one that's building all these 4 homes, or they're designing these homes and they have this home, so you have to keep them as like a political thing. Like, okay, like this person is a huge referral source. You want to keep them on your side because they are going to do this and that. Like there are little, or this is the sister, or this is a second property that the other property this guy owns is really amazing. So, I would always like once you get into the details, you can start talking about that. And there are definitely ways you can, navigate that in a way that to your benefit. But yeah, you can be ballsy and just say, here's an offer for the top 15. Everything else can kick rocks. And people have done that. But some owners might not.
The questions I'm asking you are kind of like a loaded questions, because the feedback that I'm getting is like, what makes a lot of sense is that like everything is different and you've got to figure out a lot of moving parts, and nothing's going to fall into this perfect management purpose, like purchase, right? So like everything is going to be different depending on what the operator's goals are, how they're trying to get rid of it, what their portfolio looks like and all that stuff. So I completely understand that. One thing I want to ask you is, it sounds like everything you've done that's taken place in kind of Joshua Tree, have you at any point been interested in delving into like another market and purchasing a management company elsewhere if the numbers worked? Or are you just like, hey, like I'm just going to dominate where I'm at? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I'm always open. Um, I'm always open to opportunities. Like if somebody's listening to this and saying, "Oh, I have this management company, I want to," yeah, I'll chat with them, right? Like I'm happy to talk them through. Like even if they're not looking to sell to me, like I probably know somebody that I'm sure Austin wants to hear about. Yeah, like there's people that are looking to buy, right? And so either way, I always want to entertain, and I'd be open to it for the right deal for sure. But the way that I look at things is I just take case studies from the industry and I see what works and what doesn't, and then I replicate what works. So in my mind, what I'm seeing is, and here's a case study. Here's the story. There's this one company that got 8.7 or 8.7x multiple on EBITDA, which is really high. But how they got it is because they had a 2-mile strip. Their properties were all within a 2-mile strip, beachfront in Myrtle Beach, and they got a crazy multiple for that. And I forgot what the EBITDA was, maybe like 2 million or something. But my point is, there's economies of scale to, and I've heard this time and time again, to having everything in one area. That's something, just so you guys know, private equity will ask you that. And anybody that's acquiring will ask you that. And in my mind, if somebody comes to me with a portfolio that has 5 in Joshua Tree, 7 in Sedona, 8 in this other, to me, I'm not that there's less value for me for that, because I'm going to have to operate out of 3 different places, and I have to build systems and operations in all those different places. And I don't get the benefits of like adding a lot of value in terms of like, oh, like if I take, for example, another 25 in Joshua Tree, this is so much easier for me. I can come in and I lay it off to my team, and my team can onboard those 25. I have my team doesn't need to get trained on how to talk to these people, or what the nuances of the desert are. The team already knows. The guest comms are all, there's 2 local guest comms people, and they know exactly what the desert's like. They've lived there their whole lives. So there really isn't much of a, like, the marginal cost to my bottom line is lower. And on top of that, I'm like, oh, great, 25 more properties. That means, 25 more properties that will have the ability to negotiate better rates with. 25 more properties that we can, do supplies for, or do handyman work for, or whatever the case may be. And so, or get guests for and get more damage waivers, right? So that's just my theory, is like focusing on one market. I've seen time and time again be the dominant thing to do.
I love that. So I was going to ask about when you're going to purchase a company, or you're considering purchasing the company, what percentage of contracts are you counting toward retention? So you're obviously probably calculating like you're not going to keep 100% of the customers that you're going to acquire, or the contracts you're going to acquire. Is there like a certain percentage that you're calculating in that?
No, not the way I structure deals. I don't. There are people that will calculate that, maybe if they just buy it and decide, okay, maybe a 50% leave. I go off of my understanding of what the agreements are, and I get all of the agreements, and I understand when those agreements expire. That's really important. And then like if it's a month-to-month thing, it's probably a higher chance of losing them than if it's like a year-long contract. And how long has the company been? If it's like a 3-year, if they've been around for 4 or 5 years, and they've had people for 2, 3, 4 years, there's probably a better chance that you're going to keep those than if you only had them for last year, right? So there's a lot of that. But even like for me, I always just do like a seller holdback. I just say, hey, if this client leaves, then you're getting less money from me, pretty much. And so there's a lot of ways you can structure that, but that's usually what I do so that I don't pay for things that leave, especially within like the first year.
And then, so is there a certain contract length you're looking for when you're deciding?
I mean, just the strength of the agreement. Like, it could be dude, I've seen operators are month to month, but they have insane like their churn rate's super low. They show me their like how often people churn and they never churn. It's because they own the listings, and like that is an important factor. Or maybe they're month to month, but they don't own the listing and they can leave anytime. That's different. I hate to say it depends always, but it depends, Matt. But yeah, I mean, a year long is great. If you have a year long contract but here's the thing, you can have a year long contract and you can have 100 different outs. So who gives a fuck if it's a year long, if they can leave after month 2,
Yeah.
So, and they can leave at any point, they can take their listing. Like it's like always a full picture thing. And so, yeah, it gets tricky, man. But yeah, I mean, a year-long contract and binding would be great.
So that would be the most helpful.
Yeah.
I know we all love talking about mergers and acquisitions, but I do want to mention something. I want to mention, because earlier you talked about like the guy with the connections and like, knows people, the Bill Gates Foundation. How'd you get on the LA Times front page?
Yeah, just, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's just being the expert at what you do, right? I didn't get on the LA Times because they were writing an article about how it is to be a firefighter in the Malibu fires. I got on the LA Times because they were interested in a story on Joshua Tree, and then I just happened to be the expert that they wanted to talk to about that market, and that's it. That's really all that happened, and I'm grateful and happy that they chose to take my advice and my insights on the market and what I've seen. And I feel like I've, spent a lot of time positioning myself as like the expert in my market and what I preach. And that could happen for anybody that's listening as a co-host within their local market, and it's just knowing people, it's just connections and that kind of thing. And people like refer you or they reach out to you or whatever. But like for example, like if you're that's another reason why being in one market's great too, right? But like if you're in like Texas Hill Country, you can say, well, listen, there might be some big developments in Texas Hill Country and they might want your opinion. And that's a very common thing to happen. And I mean, if you want to go out of your way and build those connections and do that, you can easily look up articles within your area and then start looking at what are the contributors for those articles. They usually have some of the most, it's usually reoccurring. The same person will do multiple, multiple articles. To be honest, it came out yesterday. And the day before that, I went into Joshua Tree to take photos with the photographer. And then day after, I wake up and I see myself on the front page. I honestly did not know they were going to do the front page. So that's as much of a surprise to everybody as it is to me. I just happened to, somebody freaking messaged me and they're like, dude, you're on the front of the freaking LA. I'm like, first of all, that was fast as fuck. What?
Yeah.
I just did that photo shoot yesterday. And it was like 5 a.m. too. I'm like, dude, that shit's crazy. And then the second thing, I'm like, front page?
Yeah.
What?
Really good for the brand.
So what's up?
Really good for the brand.
Yeah, it's great. If they would have spelled out the name of the co-host company, I think they did like co-host co. I'm like, I think there's like a co-host co and they abbreviated it. There's like a co-host co in what's it called? In Scottsdale, I believe. So anyways, maybe I got them some press.
You got to frame it in your y'all's office there in Joshua Tree, right? You got to
Right,
at least
right.
put it up there.
Yeah,
But
we have a few features like that. Like we got featured in the Wall Street Journal. We got featured in New York Times. Like that, we have a few of those. Like the co-host company, not like even me. It was like previous owner got a lot of attention as well. So it's not like out of the question that kind of stuff happens. Yeah.
So would you say like what? I guess it's a silly question, but not really. Like, 'cause the answer is you want to do both. But like, what do you find has been more impactful for you? Because I've been watching you over the last 3 or 4 years, and I've just seen you just take off, and it's been awesome to watch, man. Big fan. But I wanted to say, like, have you been seen more success kind of doubling down on your personal brand versus the co-host company? Like, what do you think you've gotten, I guess, more value from this building the Patryk Swietek personal brand, like you or your company?
I think what is more important without a doubt in my mind is doing the thing. Yes, I have done a lot of stuff with the brand. I think people really like the documentation part of it, but nobody wants to listen to advice from, and this, I learned this early on when I started doing this, by the way, because everyone started putting out videos, myself included. This cringy video. I mean, I thought it was cringy looking back, being like, this is how you become financially free and all that. You know, I learned my lesson, to be honest, because I think, like, yeah, I had some things to share, and yeah, they're maybe decent advice that I regurgitated from someone else. But I think you have a lot more credibility when you've done it. Like when you've done it, it's like, okay, yeah, but who's saying it? Oh, it's somebody that has 140 unit portfolio in Joshua Tree. Okay, so that is a lot more impressive than saying, okay, well, this schmuck on the side of the street, like, or this person with 5 units. And not to say that people with 5 units can't share their learnings. That's what I encourage is a secondary thing, which is still very important. But documenting your journey and what you're doing. And I think I'm going to do a better job of doing this over time. I don't think I've done the best job, but the people that I've seen do a really good job of documenting the journey. I think people are sick of hearing, and this is current right now. People are sick of hearing what to do. I think people are more ingrained with the idea of, oh, how's that person's life or journey look like? People like following along for the journey. I think that's more interesting. And I agree. And here's an example. One of my friends growing up, high school friend, growing up, high school friend, he did this fish tank. He got into YouTube fish tank stuff. Cool guy. His name is Coralfish12G. He dominates the space. He's got around 2 million subscribers on YouTube. Over the last 15 years, he's been doing this with fish tanks, and he does one of the biggest conferences for fish stuff. I'm actually going to see him in 2 days, funny enough. He's doing a fish tank stuff in LA. But his younger brother also met him a bunch of times. Very also successful in his own way. Purchased, at the age of 24 younger, purchased a bowling alley. Right. And so he was doing okay with the bowling alley. It was great. It was churning. He helped flip it a little bit. And he started doing videos. And I think he started to figure out how to make those videos really, really well. 6 months ago, he had, 4 months ago, he had probably 1,000 followers, just his friends. It was his personal page. And he started posting about like storytelling about what he's doing day to day. He would talk about how people steal his pictures when he used to do like he was like behind the bar, and like the pictures kept getting stolen. But he's like he was used to get pissed about it, and then now he's like, wait, hold on, this is a great opportunity to like that's like a trophy, right? Like, let me put the brand there a little bit better so that people can actually spread the word about the bowling alley. So he would talk about stuff like that, or he would be like, oh, today, I'm getting issues. They want to shut down my bowling alley. And then he would get recordings of him at like in talking to the jury or the legal people. And so like, That's interesting. As a business owner, that's, and just so you guys know, today he started this whole thing with like day 1 of doing this, day 2. Today, he helped people go along the journey of him completely renovating his bowling alley. He has 1.1 million followers right now. Just to kind of give you guys, and shout out to my boy Yanni. He's crushing the game, but he was the one that kind of inspired me. I'm like, fuck, more people should be documenting when they do. I don't do a good job of that. But anyways, I think people like seeing the journey, right? Like Matt, you saw my post about the LA Times. To be honest, that post comes once every couple months, or if that, maybe maybe 3 times a year, some big achievement happens. But what do we know as entrepreneurs is every day we're grinding, and we don't show that raw because it's not sexy.
Yep.
But I think people kind of like that. It's raw, you know?
Yeah, I think like
It's
one
hard.
thing that reminds me of, which I thought was really funny that you did, and especially on like a platform like LinkedIn, you posted about somebody that was shooting at the what are the pizza trays? Like what are they called? The oven trays, and it had a bunch of bullet holes
Yep.
into it.
Yep.
And I laughed so hard. I was like, "Damn, dude, that's really good." And you put it on LinkedIn, which is like the uppity version of social media. And I was like, "This guy is that was
Good.
legit. If you're gonna do it, like do it."
Let's break the mold, right? Like LinkedIn, let's be real. So what I've learned as a professional host are on LinkedIn. Like the Verma people, they're on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's their like, it's kind of like their what's something the plaza, you know how people go to plaza to the market. Yeah, it's their market. And so Instagram is for us, right? Like co-hosts, right? That's where we hang out. And so, you got to be on LinkedIn to like, and then also Facebook. But it's cool. Like if I'm making one post, I might as well make it on LinkedIn too. Like fuck, like
Yeah.
And LinkedIn has better reach, so I like that.
I think you're totally right about like the journey. Is that like people want to start sending shit when they get there, when they're there,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh yeah, now I want to start telling you about what I do. But it's like,
but you're less relatable then,
right? Exactly. So like I relate it to like when I listen to a new podcast and then I know that I like it, I'll start from the beginning because I want to see how it progresses throughout, right? Because it's really just a story, the whole thing. So it's like, it's funny because you hit it right on the head because it's like everybody's like, oh yeah, well I have 47 Airbnbs and this is what I do. But it's like, how did you get there? What did you do? Do you have video of you making your cold calls? Do you have video of this and that? Like people would be more intrigued, like, holy shit, Austin's killing it. Like I watched this one guy, I follow this one guy who's on TikTok. His name is Cam. And he's 24. He was 19, and he was a wholesaler. And he would just have nonstop videos of him just fucking up his phone call, cold calls on the internet, right? And now this guy has a whole wholesaling company, and he has employees that work for him and stuff. And now he does videos of like, when I was 19, this is 19-year-old me doing this, but here's 24-year-old me doing this. Like now it's like more of the lessons thing. So it's pretty cool that a lot of people don't do that, but I think it's very smart too that people would do that. They should. And
absolutely,
man. It's tough though. It's tough to want to just record content, right? Or just like think about it. You're just in your mind, like trying to get something done. You're like, oh, I should record this. Yeah.
I'm just sitting at the desk. What am I doing? Like, what am I to record? That's the hard part for sure.
Some people just think like that. I think some people's brain are just like that. They're just like, oh yeah, I should totally record this.
But you could do storytelling. It could be as simple as like, today I like you're telling a friend,
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's what happened. But storytelling is an art form in itself. How you tell it is everything, and hooks and all that. There's a lot of science to it as well. It's not easy, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, it's already been an hour of your time, and we don't want to waste your time. And we enjoyed having you come for a second time. Maybe we'll get you the third time. You could win that co-host bros hat. It won't be gold or anything, but if you want to tell everybody where to find you and follow you, and if you guys didn't hear Patryk's previous episode, I'll link the episode in the show notes. I'm not really sure what episode it is. It's probably like 20 something, but I should have looked it up prior. I'm very bad at that kind of stuff. So
you guys have grown so much, man. Damn, that's another thing. If you want to go back to the old episodes of the co-host bros, you can start seeing some good development. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's probably a lot more polished now, huh?
I mean, we're getting there. We're still working on it.
Always going to be a journey, huh?
It's always different because it's like we'll get like these guests that like you, right, who have been doing it for a while, or like Rachel and stuff like that. And then we'll get like these guests that have like 15 units, and then we'll talk to them. We're like, oh, it was so refreshing. It was a little different than what we were normally doing, right? Because it's like, you know, we got to a point at one point to where it was like, okay, let's just try to level up. But then it also was like, don't forget going backward either, right? Because you learn a lot from the people in the back as well as you do from the front. Yeah. So it's a good experience, and I think that it's probably one of the best things that we do. I think we selfishly learn a lot of stuff from having conversations with people, and I know you do from your podcast too. So it's like it's crazy how much value you get by like just having conversations with people at a dedicated 100%. Time, right?
100%. So. I agree, man. And I learned so much from Rachel when I had her on, but selfishly I had her on because I was like, dude, I'm going to learn so much from her.
Dude, so. I was ready to have part 2 like right then. I was like, what are you doing next week? Let's do it again.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. Yeah, let's run it back.
You told me how much money you made off of just doing extra shit for people? That's crazy. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
She was like 2 million just off of like whatever, like extra stuff. And I'm like, God damn, what are these people paying for? Like,
yeah, right.
How much is your markup? Like, I'm over here like you. I'm like, damage waivers, buy them. Like, give me some money. I like that. Yep. She's over here like, oh yeah, it's 15 grand for that, but they're paying 35. And I'm like, what the fuck? What am I doing wrong with my life?
Well, step 1 is get good inventory, right?
Yeah, right. Move markets. Step 1. No.
Step 1, move markets. Yeah. Dude, Park City is such a sexy market. Like,
dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, she's got it on lockdown now. I mean, I don't think there's anything you could do.
Yeah, for sure.
It's killer. Anyway, we got sidetracked, everybody. Sorry, we actually really are wrapping the show. And with that, I'll let Austin end it for us so that we can move on with our day. Sorry, everybody.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Peace.